Tonight, however, we focus on the impressions these stories create for external perception of us as a people and what we're losing as a country. Mercy Abang, a Berlin-based journalist and an entrepreneur, and Dr. Dikwa Wojide, a senior lecturer at the Nottingham Business School, are our guests tonight. Mercy and Dikwa, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marpe.
Yet another abduction. I don't know how you're both taking this in. How has this hit you? Let's start with you, Mercy.
I don't have words to say. You know, I just saw the news and I was devastated again and again and again. And it shows the level of insecurity in the country. But more importantly, I am just worried that parents will have to start withdrawing their children from schools because the state can no longer secure them.
And, you know, one of the things is you are a journalist. You know how sensitive coverage of this sort of things are. One abduction happened 2 weeks ago, in less than 2 weeks, while we're still trying to get the rescue of those ones. Another abduction again. I'm sure you must have gotten calls from fellow journalists. As a journalist of Nigerian origin living in the diaspora, how are you handling this as a Nigerian and also as a journalist?
Frank, to be honest, how am I handling this? I had to bury my head in shame at some point, but then I also realized that it is a situation we have to try to explain to the world and tell the world the situation we are in as a country. But we can't be saying, as a journalist, I can't be saying something that is in contradiction with what state actors are saying or with what governors are saying. For instance, while you're saying that you're under siege by terrorists, you see images with governors literally paying off these terrorists in the same breath. How are we going to marry the two events? So yesterday there were images from the Zamfara state government where people, terrorists, bandits, depending on who you're listening to, said they had repented and they were granted amnesty. Less than 6 hours to that event, 317, the last number, of schoolgirls abducted in the same state. So understanding what's going on for me, it's like there's an entire business or as it were, a startup that is being funded by state actors, backed by non-state actors, to ensure that the business of abduction is taken seriously. And the criminals are also taking it seriously. We can see what they're doing. We're yet to rescue the children in Niger State, Kagara. Right now, we are jumping to another situation in Zamfara State. So what are we saying? We're saying that as they are picking up people, we are paying them off and they're abducting more people. Increasingly, Abuja is being surrounded. From Kaduna Expressway to Niger State, you know, there are cases of kidnappings also in Nasarawa State. If it's not happening in Abuja yet, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But we should not wait until it does happen. These children of Nigerians, as far as Kagara, as far as Zamfara State, you know, are also children of Nigerians and children of people. And we need to take it seriously as a country. At some point, I feel like this is a point where all the political actors at some point need to sit down on the table and look at themselves in the face and say, this is a time to end the politics of, you know, of either the APCs of the PDP.
Dikwa, you are a lecturer, abroad, and I'm sure you're looking in as well. I'm sure you also know that this has implication for education. What are your immediate thoughts on listening and hearing another abduction this time around in Zamfara State?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. For me, it's a case of shame, embarrassment, and disappointment. It is very disappointing that, you know, abduction and kidnapping, you know, continues to happen in our schools. It is very embarrassing and very shameful that, you know, the government is allowing these things to happen. We shouldn't be, you know, children should not have to, you know, little boys and girls should not have to go through this sort of traumatic experiences. These are 11, 12, 13-year-old, little boys and girls, taken into forest, for days, for weeks, without food, without water. It just doesn't make any sense. And, this is a clear, failure of the government. And you would just expect that, nothing else of this nature happens again. But time and time again, you wake up and there's a bad news somewhere. It's either in Zamfara or in Niger State or in Katsina. It's one state after the other. And it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, we're stuttering trying to get the questions out. But Mercy, I'm going to put this to you, and I'm going to have to let you go because I understand the constraints that you're under right now. But again, I don't know what you've heard fellow journalists say to you. First, journalists abroad, whether they're asking you questions, not just trying to analyze the situation, but also in terms of what you understand by what is going on. Are you also trying to get their own impressions of your country as we speak?
To be honest, I don't think I really care much about, what the foreign journalists are saying. They're all jumping on the story and calling Nigeria, all sorts of names, which you can rightly say they are not completely wrong. What I am interested in as a Nigerian is asking some of the questions that I have heard some of them say. For instance, let's start with the role of Sheikh Gumi, for instance. Who appointed him a negotiator with the state actors and non-state actors? He has been out there, parading himself on television and the news and acting as the face between the government and the bandit. Again, maybe I'll leave the government out of this. Between the bandits. Who is saying what? There's been no reaction from the federal government to say, yes, we appointed him to do this. Why is he doing this? And what is his role? From the comments he's made so far, there have been nothing but extremely divisive and explaining and telling people on how to refer to terrorists in a way that panders towards their narrative and what they intend to put out there. For me, I am very much concerned about it. And I think the Nigerian people need to start asking the question, what is the role of Sheikh Gumi? Because you cannot
without prejudice to the question, without prejudice to the questions you're posing, and I'm going to let you pose a lot more. Some people will say, does he have to be appointed? If he believes that he could help in the situation, shouldn't he have stood up to help?
Absolutely, yes. But does that show the failure of the state? If yes, how was he able to move and we could see meetings, images showing meetings with these terrorists, and the government will say they don't know where these people are? Or is the government saying that they are now incapacitated, that they can no longer find out and stop, these armed groups? But Sheikh Gumi can do that. So, I don't want to say they collude, but I would say that these are the questions that Nigerians and the Nigerian people deserve to know, and the world needs to know. That way, we know that we have a government that can account for the children of all of these people. We have a government that can say that children can go to school and live freely without the fear of being abducted tomorrow. Because today we are talking about Zamfara State. Yesterday we were talking about Niger State. A day before yesterday we were talking about Chibok. My concern now is, are we going to be talking about Abuja tomorrow? Are we going to be talking about Lagos tomorrow? So until we ask the people playing active roles in negotiating with these terrorists, I don't think there's any other conversation we should be having. So if Sheikh Gumi is already having this conversation, what is he saying with them? What's the state of the children abducted in Niger State, for instance? Because they have still not been released. We listened to the governor yesterday, said he has been abandoned by the federal government of Nigeria. Why has he been abandoned by the federal government of Nigeria? If a governor is saying that right now he's dealing with the situation alone, what happens to the fate of the children that have been abducted in Zamfara State?
Well, I doubt that very few people would disagree with you on that, Mercy. Well, we have to say thank you for coming on Hard Copy, and we will continue this conversation when we come back from this break with Dr. Dipo Awojide.